All right, Charlie.
Very nice.
How we doing, man?
Really good, bro. How are you?
Solid. It's been a hell of a year.
It has been. What's this, our third time doing it this year?
I think it's our fifth one total. I think second this year.
Wait, because we did one like August, right? And then didn't we do one in like January?
We did. This is our third one this year. Okay,
That's
you're
good.
right. Because
Yeah.
we did two last year. We did one last winter,
Yeah.
last spring, then fall, January, and now April.
Yeah, that's crazy. Wait, so what is this? 5?
Fifth one.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
That's
100.
pretty
I
good.
think
Is
episode
that the
100.
most that anyone's been on?
No, my friend Ryan from Echo has been on like
Okay.
7 or 8 times just because like whenever it's break and I can't find anyone to film it.
Yeah.
It meets me and Ryan again.
No, that's
but
fair.
yeah, I think it was like a year ago where we did the Hot Tip podcast
Yeah.
and we talked about all of our dreams and
Yeah.
our growth, and I feel like we took this year to really fulfill those dreams, and
I'd say so.
we both
yeah.
come a long way, man. So.
Yeah, definitely. I'll have to go back and rewatch that because like we definitely, I feel like manifested a lot of stuff that would happen this year. You know, I don't even know where I was at last year in terms of like my mindset. So I really want to go back and watch that. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, do you remember anything at all of like what you came into this year thinking, or what's the last summer? Because that last summer was very different for you as well.
Yeah.
But
Well, coming into this year, I think. Yeah, I was really like hell bent on just bodybuilding and being single, basically. That's what I was trying to do, and so I came into this year just kind of like very closed-minded with that, and then funny enough, the second day of the year, I met my girlfriend who I've been with for 8 months, so pretty much the entire year. We met the second or third day that I got here from the summer. And so, yeah, today's the last day that I'm going to be here, so it's kind of crazy.
yeah, it's insane, bro.
Yeah.
I feel like we have a lot to talk about because it's good that you've been consistent at least with your main goal,
Yep.
which is the bodybuilding.
Yep.
And I feel like for me personally, I think there have been some things that have been consistent, but the way they manifested has changed a lot. Like I couldn't predict my current state at the beginning of the year. I think there's similar goals I had in mind, but they've definitely shifted a lot. But I think for you with bodybuilding, I'd love to talk about the evolution of, the amount you've learned in these last 8 months since last summer,
Yeah.
and even in just last 3 months, I'm sure, as it's coming up in 7 weeks or so, is it now?
Yep, 7 weeks from today.
And also with your relationship, because I'm sure that your perspective on it 3 months ago, in the first 3 months to now 8 months, is probably so different.
Oh, yeah.
Because you've probably been through so many stages and transitions, and it's probably developed into something very different now. So
Yeah, the
I think-
evolution's been kind of crazy. Like, our relationship has been so different from the first, 3 months and the second 3 months, and then, now it is pretty crazy. And honestly, we've really learned how to kind of navigate with each other a little bit more and kind of understand each other a lot better, and that's, still going to keep developing, but it's been very challenging with bodybuilding, you know? I don't have very much energy to give. I don't have much time to give. And she's been very, understanding and supportive of it for the most part. There's been a little bit of issues here and there with it, but, for the most part, she's been amazing and just, very supportive of me. So it's been great. But, yeah, I think with bodybuilding, I definitely want to talk about this a good bit, this podcast, just because it's, all my mind is focused on right now. I am, so for anyone who doesn't know, I'm competing in 7 weeks in men's physique, and then in 8 weeks I'm doing a classic physique show, and these are 2 different divisions that both emphasize different things, so I can kind of go into that a little bit. So men's physique, the main thing that you're really focusing on is having a very small waist, broad shoulders, developed lats, shoulders, and chest, and then just being pretty lean. And then for classic, I'm sure you know who C-Bum is, right?
Mhm.
C-Bum, Arnold, those guys, they did classic. And so it's kind of a little bit more emphasis on size. Still want to have a great wide shoulders, narrow waist, stuff like that, and just have more size overall and be a little bit leaner. So it's going to be very interesting to see the 2 different looks that I bring because they're both very different divisions. So yeah, I'm extremely excited just to give it my all and present my best package on stage.
Mhm. Yeah, are those, do you train differently for the 2, and are they consecutively? So is it you're doing single kind of training and then you're going to compare both events, or are you doing a separate type of training for each one individually, or?
Ideally, you should do separate training for both of them. There's some overlap in it. For example, like when you train your shoulders and your upper chest and your back really hard, you're training really well for both of them. But men's physique, you're wearing board shorts which go to like almost your knee, so you can't even really see your legs, and your legs aren't judged. So
whereas for classic,
in classic they
Okay.
are, but not in men's physique.
Not in men's physique.
So yeah, I mean there is some overlap, but also there is some stuff that you want to do a little bit differently. But if you have just a good physique overall, you can do pretty well in both. So that's kind of what I've been trying to do this past year, is just develop the best proportions that I can, and also just make sure that my structure's good, I'm lean enough, because those are the things that, well, you can't control your structure, right? But you can control how lean you are, how good your posing is, a few other variables. But yeah, I think that I've done a pretty good job just developing my weak points to the point where now I'm pretty proportional. So, and honestly, I've only prepared for it for about a year, like specifically bodybuilding. Like I'd never really had plans to be a bodybuilder or to step on stage. Like I always kind of worked out just for fun, and I liked being in shape, but it's been really interesting. Bodybuilding's given me like a whole different purpose in life, and like the discipline that you get from tracking your meals every day, from consistently getting 8 hours of sleep, going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, doing fasted cardio in the morning, having the same thing to eat every single day, drinking a gallon of water, training, doing 2 sessions of long ass cardio a day, on top of school, a relationship, and like, trying to have a little bit of time to relax. It's like, it's been a lot, but that's kind of what I was looking for. Like I kind of threw myself into it last summer. I just said, okay, screw it, I'm going to compete. Like, this is what I'm doing. And I wanted to just give it my all for about a year. So I started working with my coach last July or maybe last June, something like that. So it's been about a year that I've been working with my coach. And honestly, it's one of the best decisions I ever made was to hire a coach, because for my first show, I really wanted to make sure I was dialed in with the things that, I wasn't totally aware that I needed to be dialed in with, He sent me what posing shorts I should get, like how to position my hands when I'm posing, stuff like that. Just stuff that you wouldn't really know just intuitively, even from watching, So I think that the past 11, 12 months have been extremely beneficial, not only for my body, but for my mind. I was always a very disciplined person, and I always valued my health and sleep to a certain extent, but this is like basically become a full-time job for me, is like being as healthy as I can for the most part. So yeah.
That's incredible, dude. Do you see yourself focusing on like one of the 2 kinds of competitions as you like move on with it, or do you are you leaning toward one or the other? And is men's physique as popular, or is like classic more popular? Or?
So for now, men's physique is typically the easier one to get into, because you don't need to be as big. But in the long term, I'd like to be a classic competitor. I think, just the posing's more interesting to me. Having good leg development is more interesting to me. And I love guys like Arnold and Seabum, and obviously I can't look like them because I'm fully natty, but I'd love to be able to like have a higher ceiling, if that makes sense. Like men's physique, I feel like since you don't need as much size, it comes down to, okay, who has the best structure to a certain point. Like you still need great size, but it doesn't take as long to get that. So I think I'll definitely long term be more of a classic guy, but I'd like to do my best in men's physique first before I get a little bit bigger. So yeah,
amazing, bro. Yeah, could you talk to me more about, you talked about this shift in perspective of like, I always try to stay healthy, or I always try to go to the gym, but it's more for fun, versus now you have so much of a deeper purpose behind like every decision you make. So can you talk to me like how your attitude toward diet, the gym, and even life as a whole has evolved over the last year? Because I'm sure the way you look at it now is just completely different.
Yeah, 100%. So I think that I've always kind of felt that what you feed your body kind of dictates your entire life, and like how well you sleep. But it's honestly given me a whole nother perspective on it. Like just considering my diet. So I'll run you through like a normal day of eating that I have now. So I eat the same thing every day just for predictability, like so I can, know when I look really good in the gym. Like if I'm eating the same thing every day before the gym, it's very predictable how I'm gonna feel. If I'm eating the same thing every day before bed, I'm not gonna like wake up in the middle of the night with stomach issues or something like that. That's all factors that goes into my decisions for what I eat and my coach's decisions, right? So I think that just being extremely cognizant of what you put in your body has taught me a lot about just how to manage your health in general. And yeah, I think that I'll take you through my whole day. So I wake up in the morning every day. I have 200 grams egg whites, 2 whole eggs, sweet potatoes, kiwi. I think that's my entire breakfast. And then my second meal is chicken, broccoli, and rice. I'm not going to go into the exact amounts. That doesn't matter as much. But then third meal is my pre-workout meal. I have 7 rice cakes, honey, and walnuts. And then my fourth meal after the gym, I have ground beef, broccolini, and rice. And then my fifth meal, I have chicken, broccoli, and rice again. And then my last meal, I have a protein shake with casein protein powder in it. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty complicated. And
how many calories do you try to aim for at this stage right now? 'Cause you're more like cutting now, right?
Yeah, so right now I'm at about 2,000 on average a day. So 2,000 when I am training, and then on my rest days I have 1,700. And I'm doing 80 minutes of cardio every day too. So,
because I know before you were, at least at some point in the winter, you were trying to like eat more calories on a cut, but do extended cardio.
Yeah.
So how would you compare that to now? You're also back on like 2,000 calories per day. Like, how would you compare the two? Or
so
what you learned about
then I was more so trying to maintain my weight. I was eating about 3,500 calories a day, doing not as much cardio, but still a decent amount. So I was just maintaining, trying to get a little bit bigger, maybe losing a little bit, just slowly. But the reason I wasn't so focused on it then is because I didn't really need to get too lean before it was time to really lock in for my show, So basically the plan was just kind of maintain about 12-13% body fat until 14 weeks out or so, and then start to cut down and just gradually taper down your calories and taper up the cardio.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we did. So I started at 3,500 calories a day at the beginning of prep. Then about 2 weeks later, I went to 2,900 on my training days, and then 2,300 on my off days. And a few weeks later, I went to 2,300 on training days, 1,700 on off days. So basically just dropping at like 500 or 600. So they're pretty significant drops, but it's smarter than just going from 3,500 to 2,000, you know what I mean? Just you kind of like ease your body into it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And like I never really went through a phase where I was too hungry. Even now, like I'm not really crazy hungry all the time. I've done a pretty good job suppressing my appetite with various like methods. And I could talk about that, but yeah, I mean, it's really rewarding like doing this. I feel like a lot of purpose every day, and it's like something that's always on my mind, and that's kind of something that I was lacking for a while. It's like, okay, I'm doing school, I lift casually, or I do boxing or whatever, but like I wasn't really shooting for a goal that I didn't think I could achieve. And this goal of winning my OCB Pro Card is something that's going to be really hard to do. And I'm honestly not sure if I can do it. It's not really up to me. It's kind of up to who shows up on the day. Because some guy who's 30 could pull up, who's been training for 15 years like perfectly, and he could just blow me out of the water, and that's something that I can't control. Or I could have a bunch of 17-year-olds who aren't very developed come in and I just beat them all. That's also very possible. But my whole idea is that I'm just going to do my absolute best and bring the best package that I can. And honestly, that's been a very helpful mentality throughout this process. Just really focusing on me and not really worrying too much about external factors like, okay, this guy looks better than me, or, I'm not big enough, I'm not lean enough. It's like, okay, am I better today than I was yesterday? And am I better now than I was last year? I think those are things that I've really taken into consideration, and they've really helped my mindset, because I used to struggle with that a bit more, just in terms of, I know we were talking about this a little bit before, but just body dysmorphia in general, because I was always in pretty good shape, but I thought I was in worse shape than maybe I was, and now I'm just like in a very peaceful state where I'm like, okay, I know I'm doing what I can. I'm not going to worry about it. If this guy's a little taller than me, or if his shoulder structure is a little bit wider, or his waist is a little narrow, I'm not going to worry about that, you know. I'm just going to do the absolute best that I can with what I've been given. And I feel like that's a very healthy mentality, especially in such an unhealthy sport like bodybuilding, because a lot of people get into it and they get more polarized in terms of their body dysmorphia because they really just compare themselves to everyone who's already at such an elite level. And honestly, for me, it's kind of been the opposite, where I'm like, okay, yes, a lot of people look a lot better than me, but I think I look pretty damn good, especially compared to where I've been, you know. So, and it's just like a never-ending journey. There's like this whole philosophy that there's not really a natural limit on how much muscle you can put on. I personally think there is like a limit, you know, because myostatin is a protein which literally inhibits the amount of muscle you can gain. But yeah, I think that just as a natural, you really can't reach like a full peak ever, because say once you build like most or all of the muscle that you're able to build, you can go into strength, you can go into jiu-jitsu, boxing, marathon running, whatever. Like there's so many things that you can pursue that like you should never just be complacent and like stuck in one spot, I think.
No, I like that. I mean, I feel like that's what I feel like life is all about, like maxing out as many skills as you can.
Yeah, 100%.
You talked about like the peaceful state that you've kind of achieved now, and I don't know how bad your body dysmorphia was in the past, but I know that so many people deal with it. Like so many of my friends who look great are just like always, you know, feel like they're very small. And luckily I've never had that, but so did you have a lot of body dysmorphia before? Like how much was it? And can you talk about the transition from, if you did have that before to now, like the peaceful state, and not the differences between that, and how you think you might have gone about achieving that?
Yeah, I would say I definitely had a bit of body dysmorphia. It was never too extreme to the point where I had like an eating disorder or like I would be super depressed about it or anything. But I was like, okay, damn, I'm pretty skinny, or like I'm skinny fat. Like those were always thoughts that went on in my mind, and I'd be pretty built at the time compared to most people, but that's just not how my mind really works. Like when I do something, I want to do it as well as I possibly can if I care about a lot about it. Like for school, yes, I care about school, but like I'm not gonna really try my all because it's not something I'm super passionate about, you know. Like it's kind of like checking off a box for me. But yeah, back to body dysmorphia. So I think that the things that helped me the most were actually getting in the best shape of my life. Like, because, you know, if you aren't that big or aren't that lean, like, yeah, there's some reason that you're not going to feel that good about yourself, you know. You're not that extraordinary, you're not that impressive. But if you genuinely get to a spot where you're lean and pretty big and pretty impressive at the same time, and you don't feel good still, that's body dysmorphia, you know. So I feel like I don't really think I had it in a true sense, like, because as we were talking about before, like, body dysmorphia is if you're a big, shredded, good-looking dude and you think you look like shit, basically. You know, it's not if you're skinny fat, like 200 pounds, like not looking that good, and then you think you don't look that good. Like, that's not body dysmorphia. That's just like, okay, you just don't look that good in reality, right? So I think that the best way to really get over body dysmorphia is, one, not really comparing yourself to other people as much. I know it's pretty cliche, but like, stop going on social media as much and like really just dive into building as good of a physique as you can, and just like accepting that this is what I was given. You know, you may not have the widest shoulders or the best muscle insertions, stuff like that. Like, everybody's different and we're all born with different gifts. And I think just accepting the gifts that you're born with and not like worrying too much about like what you weren't given is a super healthy mentality that can help you. Just be like, instead of worrying about, okay, I wasn't born whatever way, but I was given this, right? So I think that the recognizing things that you have been given are very important, and then also doing the best with what you've been given is a very healthy way to get over it. And then also just spending less time on social media. I think that having such an extreme mindset of like, okay, never go on social media or anything isn't realistic either, because like, you're just going to outsource your social comparison to other places. For example, like if you go to the gym, you know, and if you're not on social media, you're still going to be like, oh damn, that guy looks really good, like I don't look that good, you know. So I think it's like limiting the amount of social comparison you have is a pretty good idea, but like not like avoiding it entirely, because you know you gotta deal with it some way, you know. So
I agree.
yeah.
I think I like the quote you said about like appreciate the gifts you've been given.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a very good way to look at it, because I think we are all born with different gifts, and everyone's disadvantage can be an advantage to another person. Yeah. So I like the way you put that, and I do agree. I think social media has been the main driver of it, because realistically, like, how many people are you comparing yourself to at the gym or like in day-to-day life? And in fact, I feel like those comparisons are the healthy comparisons that actually drive you. But I mean, the level of content you'll see online and the volume of content, like, I mean, I'm an advocate for social media. I still use it, but I think that obviously being healthy about it, not like doom scrolling for hours and constantly seeing all these people and comparing yourself. I completely agree.
Because you're seeing the top 1% of people, if not the top 0.001%, you know, and that's just not what you would encounter in normal life, and that's meant to provoke like fear, or like I don't know if fear is the right word, but just like a feeling of inadequacy in yourself. Like, if you see, like, how often is it that you see someone in real life that's like insane, or that looks as good as someone on like your For You page or something like that? It's very infrequent that you see someone like that. Mm-hmm. And so your brain thinks that on social media that, like, damn, everyone else looks like crazy and I look like shit, versus if you kind of take a step back and like kind of limit the amount that you're on social media, you're like, okay, damn, I actually look pretty good, like, compared to most people in my life. And I'm actually against like really comparing yourself to people even in real life. I'm like, okay, you should just compare yourself to where you were in the past, because like it's not a fair comparison, like especially on social media, because people use lighting angles, like sometimes it's even AI or Photoshop, stuff like that, so you don't even know that what you're looking at is real, versus in real life. And if you're comparing yourself to you in the past, like, that's real, and it's very easy to like document that, you know. So I think that when I look back on my older pictures, like, I have such a sense of pride with just how far I've come, you know. And the total weight difference for me hasn't even been that different. Like, in high school I was like 155. I woke up this morning at 148.5. So
how much were you, say, 145?
155 in high school.
Okay. No, not like this morning.
148.5.
That's insane.
Yeah.
You're 8 pounds heavier than me.
Yeah. No, it is crazy. That's the thing, though, because like when you get really shredded, you look a lot bigger, you know. So like when I was 168 or so, I look bigger now than when I was 168, just because of how lean I am. Mm-hmm. And that was the whole philosophy of cutting, is like you want to maintain most of your muscle and then lose pretty much all your fat, and then that makes you look massive. Like, if you lose most of your fat and keep the muscle.
This might be a stupid question, but just out of curiosity, because I don't know too much about this. Like, obviously you look the best at this lean weight. Is it healthy to be that light at your kind of, I don't know, body weight or whatever?
Currently, it's healthy. Like, I'm not too shredded right now to the point where it's unhealthy. That's gonna start coming in the next few weeks as I really get down a little bit leaner. But right now I'm probably like 8 or 9% body fat, like probably closer to 9, and the goal is to get to like 6 maybe for my show. So like that'll look pretty good. And then maintaining like 5-6% body fat is definitely not healthy for you long term. Like, your hormones tank. You're just not eating enough food, so your body literally thinks you're in a starvation state, so it like makes your energy terrible. You feel no motivation to do anything. I'm honestly feeling this a little bit right now.
Really?
But yeah, like I'm not super hungry all the time, but like I do feel it. Like, I have zero motivation to like walk places. Like, I had an exam yesterday 10 minutes away from my apartment, and I was honestly dreading walking to the exam more than I was dreading taking the actual exam. So I was like, it's just everywhere you go on prep, you just like, the only thing that comes in your mind is like, oh, I gotta walk there. Like, damn.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like you consider how much energy you have to expend, because your body's trying to conserve the amount of energy that you're expending, because it wants you to like not die, you know. So it wants you to hold on to the little bit of fat you actually have left. So
that's very interesting. I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Before you walk me through like your diet and like what you eat each day, could you talk me through like how you went about deciding that? Like, how you went about deciding like what you eat, how much you eat? I'm sure it changes throughout the year. Like, what kind of mindset you were using to decide that? Because even as I adjust my diet, I'd be curious to see like what thoughts are going through your head as you make decisions to help me make those same decisions.
Yeah. So ideally, you want to, in your off season, I'll start with off season and then I'll talk about like when you're trying to cut down a little bit more. So we all know that protein's super important, but actually it's a little bit less important when you're in like a bulking phase because you have so many carbs and fats that are like sparing the amount of protein that your body uses for energy. So when you're eating say 400 grams of carbs a day and you space out those carbs, your body doesn't need to pull from the protein to get energy versus right now. So I'll give you an example. Yesterday I ate 220 grams of protein and 80 grams of carbs. My body's not using all the protein to build muscle, and that's why you have such a high amount. It's using some of that for energy because you have such little carbs. And yeah, that's mainly the difference between bulking and cutting phases is like you need a little bit more protein when you cut to prevent muscle loss. Whereas in a bulk, you're in a calorie surplus, you're probably not going to lose muscle if you're providing the proper stimulus and nutrition and recovery and all those things. But yeah, I'd say the main things to consider when you're dieting in your off season is sustain a slight calorie surplus. I ideally wouldn't advise like dirty bulking or anything. I would say like a 500 calorie surplus is perfectly fine, even 250 to 500, because think about that. They say that it takes a 3,500 calorie surplus to gain 1 pound of fat. So if you have 500 calories in a surplus each day times 7, 500 times 7 is 3,500, right? So that's about a pound of fat per week that you'd be gaining, or just a pound of weight that you'd be gaining per week if you had a 500 calorie surplus. So that's a fairly slow rate. If you had a 250 calorie surplus, it'd be half that, half a pound a week. Half a pound that you're gaining every week. And yeah, so I think that if you take it pretty slow when you're trying to gain weight, that's ideal because you're not going to gain as much fat as if you'd have like a 2,000 calorie surplus a day and you just go crazy. Because realistically, a lot of that is going to be converted to fat. Because when your body senses that you're eating too many calories, it just converts the extra nutrients to fat, right? So it's not going to help you build much more muscle if you have an 1,000 calorie surplus versus a 250 to 500 calorie surplus. So I think that that's the number one most important thing when you're trying to actually do like a bulking phase. And in conjunction with that, you want to make sure you're actually tracking your body weight week to week, ideally at the same time. So I do every Monday, like right when I wake up, which is pretty nice. It's just very consistent once a week. If you do it every day, it can fluctuate. Like the amount of water that you're holding on to can change. Like say for example, you're not drinking very much water the day before, that can like cause you to retain more water the day after, stuff like that. So I would say once a week is a good time to check your weight. So having a slight calorie surplus of 250 to 500 calories is pretty ideal, just so you don't gain very much fat. And then tracking your weight. And tracking your weight is super important just to be aware of what's actually happening, right? Because if you think that you're eating a 250 to 500 calorie surplus and you're losing weight week to week, you're not actually in a surplus, right? Or if you're maintaining, you're not actually in a surplus. And that's a mistake that I made in high school a lot, is like I would convince myself that I was eating a lot of food, but like my weight wasn't going up week to week, and I would just eat when I was hungry, and that's not a successful way to bulk at all. So I would say those two things are pretty important. And then also really just trying in the gym. A lot of people don't actually push themselves nearly as hard as they should in the gym. I spotted you on a set of incline dumbbell bench press the other day, and it was like one of the best sets I've seen in a while from someone, because you pushed yourself super hard and then you had me give you assisted reps. I feel like that's a really good way to train for a lot of people, because it's safe, you have someone spotting you, and you're pushing yourself really hard. And like the real way to grow is to do those reps closest to failure. And the reason why, we learned this in my exercise physiology class recently, is because you're recruiting the larger muscle fibers. So what happens, it's called the size principle based on muscles. So if you're doing super easy weight, like say I pick up my phone and start curling my phone, I don't need all my muscles to do that because it's lightweight, right? But if I had a 70-pound dumbbell, I would need the bigger muscles in my bicep and my shoulder, even in like my lats, to help me get that weight up, right? So as you get more tension on the muscle, your muscles recruit bigger and stronger muscles, because you don't need them when you're doing light weights, so they get recruited more when you're doing heavier weights and you're getting closer to failure. So that's really been a way that I've been training more recently, and that's something that I'm going to incorporate in my next off season a lot more, is just really getting closer to failure in the safest way possible, right? Like, standardize your form, make sure you're not at risk for injury, anything like that, and just really go through and be very diligent with your form and then standardize it. And what I mean by standardize your form is don't change the exercise to make it easier. So for example, on a bench press, if you start by benching like flat with your back flat, and then the next week you add 10 pounds and then you arch a little bit more and make it a little bit easier, that's not the same form, right? It's a different lift. So you could say like you got stronger technically, right? But like that load was placed more on your joints, your connective tissue, and not as much on your muscle, because you alter the shape of your rib cage when you're doing that exercise. So point is, not to be long-winded, but to standardize your form is super important for making progress, because you're actually comparing apples to apples instead of apples to oranges. Like, so you know that you actually got stronger if your form is the same and you did more reps or you did more weight, right? So that's a super important thing that I didn't do for a long time. What else for bulking? I think that's pretty good. I think that general guidelines for bulking would be like 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. That's pretty standard. Mm-hmm. And if you're cutting, you want more than that, definitely. But the idea that you need to have like 300 grams of protein a day on a bulk is just nonsense. You don't need that much unless you're like Mr. Olympia, you know? So, I think those are pretty good guidelines for bulking. Oh, another thing that I can think of is doing cardio even when you're in a bulking phase. I think cardio is just fantastic for you. The guidelines, I don't know what health organization, it might be the World Health Organization, they say to do 150 minutes of zone 2 cardio a week. I think that's a good way to do it for a lot of people, even bodybuilders or even non-competitive bodybuilders, just people who do it for fun. Just keeping your heart healthy, it can improve mitochondrial density, capillary density, all sorts of different health metrics that are super important. And we don't think about this as much when we're young, but the decisions we make now, and I know you know this, like really add up. And if you try to start doing something when you're 50, if you ate like shit and you barely did any cardio your whole life and you start doing it when you're 50, it's a lot harder to recover or get good cardio fitness or just health in general than if you had been doing it for that whole time, right? So really doing your cardio, and it doesn't have to be strenuous or intense. I like a low intensity, like incline walk throughout the week. Just do that like 5 times for 30 minutes. Play on your phone, watch TikTok, whatever you want to do. Have it be some time where you just get to relax and just enjoy whatever you want to on your phone. It's a good guilt-free way to do that. That's what I did a lot in my last off season. So I think that pretty much covers it for off season. I could talk about supplements a little bit. So sure. I think that a lot of supplements aren't actually worth it. I think that the main ones that you want to do in conjunction with a good diet would be creatine, because creatine saturates your creatine phosphate stores in your muscle, which provide a substrate for the creatine phosphate system, which is a short-term energy system in your muscles, which helps you get more explosive reps, and maybe you get a little bit more of a boost, maybe 5%. So I think that's definitely worth it for a lot of people to do. And then also a multivitamin is pretty good, because a lot of people don't eat a ton of vegetables. I recommend just eat your vegetables, eat healthy food, but if you can't do that, get a multivitamin. Fish oils are super good for anti-inflammation. I really like those. I've been taking that for a long time. And then vitamin D, especially places like Michigan, where you're not getting a lot of sun, especially throughout the winter. I think that can be pretty good to do vitamin D and K2 to prevent the vitamin D from calcifying. I think it's in your arteries that it calcifies, so that combination is pretty good. And then what else do I do? Casein protein powder is fantastic. Whey, I know a lot of people do, it's really good too, but you want to do that more because it's faster digesting. Whey protein is faster digesting than casein.
So you do casein or whey?
I do both.
Okay.
It just depends on what my goal is. So for casein, you want to take it overnight because it's slow digesting and there's a slow release of amino acids throughout the night. and you're basically going to be preventing muscle protein breakdown and promoting muscle protein synthesis throughout the night, which, muscle protein synthesis is happening all the time. Muscle protein breakdown is happening all the time. And how you actually build muscle is if muscle protein synthesis is greater than muscle protein breakdown. If that is sustained over time, you will be gaining muscle, right? So, I think that casein definitely allows that to be sustained overnight. Like having a little bit more of an anti-catabolic effect overnight is super important for a lot of people. And then not like fasting a ton in the morning, because if you break your fast with carbs and protein, I think that that's a great way to do it in the morning. Also a little bit of fat too.
Do you eat right away or do you eat after like hours?
I eat after my cardio, so I do fasted cardio and I do essential amino acids before my cardio because I don't want to. Once again, I want to prevent muscle loss as much as possible in a deficit.
And
but
you'd say throughout the year you avoid like morning fasting? Like significant?
Yeah, like
a lot of days I might go like a couple hours in the morning.
Yeah, I mean that's fine if you're going a couple hours, but if you're not eating till like 1 p.m. and you get up at 8, like you probably should be eating.
Yeah, I thought sometimes.
Probably should be eating a little bit earlier, even if you just have like a shake or some carbs in a shake. Like that's all you really need. It doesn't need to be crazy.
This is strictly for the protein synthesis reasons or muscle.
Yeah. Because if you're not giving your muscles enough nutrients, especially fasting like 16 hours, like if you stop eating at 8 p.m. and then, you wait till like 1 or 2 p.m. the next day to eat, you went all night where your body's breaking down, potentially your muscle for energy, which if your goal is to build as much muscle as possible, like that's probably not a good thing. But for other people, like I understand there are mental benefits to fasting, stuff like that, and I totally understand that, but from a pure muscle building perspective, you definitely don't want to fast. Definitely not a cut. Like in a bulk, you can get away with a little bit more, but
okay.
Yeah.
How can you get away with it more in a bulk?
Because you have more food.
It's in your system.
Yeah. So when you're very low on calories, your body's going to be very quick to pull from your muscle. So you want to prevent that as much as possible by having very small meals throughout the day. When I was talking about what I eat in a day earlier, I told you 6 meals that I eat, right? Mm-hmm. I eat 6 meals, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, you eat 6 meals? That must be a lot of food." No, it's like 300. It's like 300 calories per meal, but like it's very like every 2 to 3 hours I'm eating. So, and that's for the reason of preventing muscle protein breakdown as much as possible. And eating in itself is anabolic. So, like, actually giving yourself food, that's an anabolic process. Same thing with training, providing mechanical tension, metabolic stress, muscle damage onto your muscle. That's an anabolic process. Like, it may be catabolic in the moment of you doing it, but it promotes more muscle protein synthesis over time, over 48 hours after you train. So,
how's your computer in charge, by the way? I forgot to ask you that before.
Yeah, it's good. It's 74%, so we're good. Yeah.
So I'm sure over the last year you might have experimented with like different eating times, schedules, sizes, training times, cardio times. So what have you experimented with over the last year and like maybe for different purposes? And like what have you noticed works best for you or might be the best advice you'd give to someone regarding timing of things? Yeah, no,
a very interesting thing is I was taking caffeine a lot in the first semester of this year.
So pre-workout or what else would you do?
So I would just have pre-workout and I'd maybe even have like a Celsius or something too, which was like kind of a lot. It's pushing like 400 milligrams, which is like the daily limit, right? That's recommended. But I know a lot of people do like 1,000 milligrams of caffeine. It's insane. Yeah. But I found for me that it would really mess with my productivity throughout the day because I would feel great in the morning when I have my caffeine, right? Like you feel like Superman when you have it, and then I'd take my pre-workout, feel great. And then just the rest of the day, I was just dragging, like absolutely dragging. And that was even when I had enough food. And I wasn't really, I wasn't even in a deficit at that point. So I stopped doing caffeine for a while. And then now I'm just getting back into it because I really need it to like help me get through my lifts and get through my cardio, stuff like that. So I think that that's been something that has kind of changed. I mean, for most people, like as long as you stick within the recommended daily limit and then like you kind of do periods of desensitization and resensitization, like that's fine. And maybe not desensitization, but like just having a decent amount, like it's fine. It's not going to be that bad. But like if you feel like you have built up a tolerance to caffeine, I feel like it's a good idea to maybe take a month off and then recalibrate your body's tolerance to that, which is basically what I did for a few months. And so I just started incorporating that again, and it's honestly been great. I haven't built up a tolerance yet, so I'm chilling. But that's the main thing that I can think of that's changed. But another thing is also my workout timing. I used to do a little bit more like towards 4 p.m. or so. Now I'm doing like 7 usually, but when I go back home, I'm going to start doing it more like early afternoon again, just because when I'm taking pre-workout, like you don't want that to interfere with your sleep, right? So if I take pre-workout at 7 p.m., it's probably going to keep me wired for a little bit because the half-life of caffeine is pretty long. So yeah, I think those are the two main things that have changed. And like I feel like for most people, you just got to kind of find what works for you. There's no like ideal way to do, oh, this much amount of caffeine, work out at this time, like eat this amount of food, eat these foods. Like you kind of just got to experiment and figure out what works best for you, and just learn your body. And obviously eat healthy. Like that's one thing that I think everybody can do that's not going to be bad advice, is eat healthy most of the time. If you're eating healthy like 70 to 80% of the time, I feel like that's pretty fair. If you're a little bit more extreme about things like me, maybe closer to 90 to 95% of the time, I think the unhealthiest thing that I have is probably pre-workout right now, just because some of the like added sugar and stuff like that. And honestly, I become a fan of added sugar. I used to hate on it a lot, and not like added sugar. I mean like fake sugar, like stevia, aspartame, stuff like that. And I know that you talked a little bit to Xander about this, right?
That was like last year.
Yeah, and I looked. I've been looking into it, and I think that what they say is you have to have like 30 or 40 cans of Coke for that to be like a bad amount. I think that it's less than that. I think that if you're having a shit ton of aspartame, it's probably not good for you. But if you have it a little bit, and if you have a little bit of stevia here and there, like it's not going to kill you. It's not going to be that bad. It's better than having sugar and being morbidly obese, that's for sure, right? So if you can stick to a diet and these things make it easier, like a Diet Coke or like stuff like that, just to like fill your stomach up and make you feel like you're eating something that tastes good. I think that definitely helps people stick to a diet a little bit easier. And if that's what it takes to like lose weight and maintain a healthy body weight, like I think that that's totally fine. Yeah. You know?
No, that's a really interesting perspective, and we can talk about this more because I think my perspective on diet has also evolved a lot, over the years. And there's definitely an extreme period of my life when I was younger, like in high school, where I would eat like strictly whole foods, like nothing with any sugar, nothing with any ingredient that's not whole. And I think we've both been through that.
Oh era, yeah, for sure. I wouldn't touch plastic at all, ever.
We've been through it.
Yeah.
I think over the years, I've shifted more to like the 90-95% rule, or like 80-90% rule, where it's like I know like a nice treat once in a while is not going to kill me.
Yeah.
Like on a birthday party, I'll eat a piece of cake, or
for
like
sure.
If I feel like a craving to eat something a little bit unhealthy, I'll do it.
Yeah.
As long as it's not too integrated into a routine where it's becoming a habit, and you kind of know for yourself, if it's becoming too much.
Yep.
I do think though, like, I'm curious to learn more about like what you've read about like aspartame, stevia, and those kind of things, because I've not read a lot about it, but I guess like I usually still avoid like those in like too frequency of a volume. Like I understand like once in a while like a Diet Coke's not bad for you, but like I think a lot of people like use those articles and justify like having something every day, and I still think that like if something like, I'm sure that's not what you do, but I feel like if something like aspartame or stevia has been like proven clinically to be carcinogenic and like it builds up in your system and like it's still long-term effects are not studied, I still try to avoid like too much regular consumption of like processed kind of chemicals or foods, but yeah, I still think I've evolved in like it's okay to like, it's not going to kill you. Like, if you're on top of shit, you're active, you're healthy, you're eating very clean. Like, I have a little bit of added sugar here and there throughout the week. Like, it's not the end of the world, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that if you're just spamming aspartame all the time and you have it every day, it's probably not a good thing. And that's not what I'm advising. I'm just saying, like, for people who really struggle losing weight, like, you can kind of do a few unhealthy things, like have some Diet Coke throughout the day, like, that's not going to kill you. I think that the risk factors associated with being overweight are definitely outweighing the risk factors associated with some unhealthy habits like eating and drinking like aspartame and added sugar, like stevia. Added sweeteners that aren't real sugar.
I agree.
Because, yeah, like, there's cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, insulin sensitivity issues, cancer risk, all sorts of things that are associated with being obese or overweight that the country has a real problem with. And if you can integrate things into your routine that allow you to get closer to your goal of being a more healthy body weight, I think that that's definitely a good decision, instead of just like being like, nope, I'm never going to touch added sugar, or sorry, I'm never going to touch aspartame because it's going to give me cancer. Meanwhile, you're like overweight, it's like, okay, you got to address that first, I think.
That's a very fair point. I mean, I think everything's relative.
Yeah.
And definitely like high volumes of sugar, obesity are like the driving causes of like most of these diseases. So yeah, I think definitely everyone should do it for themselves and make those right decisions like in terms of your current state and just doing better. But I think it's a fair point. But yeah, I think that so with the you've had caffeine changes and like routine changes in terms of lifting. Have you like experimented a lot with meal timing, frequency, and number of meals or anything like that, or it's been pretty consistent, you'd say?
A little bit. Like when I was more in my bulking or like maintaining phase, I was eating less meals actually, but they were just bigger meals. I would probably eat like 3 or 4 times a day. Now I eat 6 times a day, just like what I said, to prevent the muscle protein breakdown as much. And that's not as important when you're in a bulking phase, so that kind of changed a little bit, but nothing too crazy. And honestly, if I could go back and do it again, I would change it a little bit. I would probably eat 4 meals again, but just like have the sizes be a little bit more equal. Because my last meal of the day, I would have like over 100 grams of protein, and in my first and third meals, I would have like 30. So I'd probably do like 50, 50, 50 or something like that, So I think that making your meal sizes pretty similar is a good decision for most people, just because like you're not going to be bloated as hell, like when you go to bed or when however bloated you are after you have like a big ass meal. If you kind of space out your meals and make them all a little bit equal in size, your body's like, okay, I know it's coming, like we're going to have this much food. And then it also, you don't experience like the effect of being super tired after you have a big meal. When you eat like a really big meal and then you're just exhausted, like you don't have that effect if you have smaller meals and you space them out throughout the day. And then also like if people can do it, I advise like eating the same thing pretty much every day, especially in a bodybuilding perspective. Like if you know what's going in to your body at each time throughout the day, you're going to know consistently how you feel. And I know that this isn't sustainable for a lot of people, but like if you truly enjoy your diet and you make it sustainable, and maybe this means like you eat half a cup of ice cream every night, like, but the rest of the day you're healthy. If that's what allows you to stick to eating the same thing every day, I think that's totally fine. But like just trying to make something super sustainable that you can stay consistent with is probably the most important thing when it comes to dieting,
That's cool, man. I'd love to get like your advice on my current state and goals.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like whenever I ask you on the podcast, you always help me out a lot with like
100%.
Thinking about the future and following 6 months and year. And my perspective on the gym has always been it's more of a fun activity for me. And then like the outcome of that has been like I've gotten bigger over the years without much intensive focus. Like in the back of my mind, I have the attitude toward eating healthy, eating clean, eating a surplus when I want to gain muscle, eating a little bit less when I want to cut. But it's never been as like strict, organized. I do go through phases where it's more than not with consistency, but because for me, like it's never been as like a primary goal of mine. I've always had other focus in it. It's always like a supplemental kind of piece of my life. With that being said, obviously I've been going to the gym for a long time, and last semester was a big focus. And I'd say the beginning of this semester is the first time it became like less of a focus and like a low focus time period that I've not had in a while, where I was just like not finding it as fulfilling or as fun. You know, I wasn't as motivated to build a bigger physique because I was kind of satisfied or fulfilled with what I had. I mean, obviously, more is always better, but it didn't feel like it was as important to me in terms of like getting more strength, getting more muscle, which is why I pivoted toward try boxing out. And that actually did me really well for a couple months. Like I ended up dropping weight a little bit. I was at like about 135, 136 pounds for most of the winter, where I was just training boxing and then lifting like 3 to 6 times a week. Some days it'd be less, some days it'd be more based on the schedule. But I was kind of keeping lifting as more fun. Diet, I was eating not as much as I was before because I wasn't as focused on bulking, but I would still eat, 2 to 3 meals a day and a decent amount of calories. So I was definitely maintaining my physique and happy with how I looked.
Yeah.
That shifted, I'd say, in March, April time, where like my motivations for the gym like increased again. I was obviously finding a lot of fulfillment through boxing, but with the summer coming, and like I wanted to try to work on my physique a little bit more as a priority, at least this summer. And so with that being said, I started training more frequently with addition to boxing, and I started eating a little bit more intentionally. And I've gotten up to about 140.5, 140.1, which is the heaviest I've been ever.
Yeah, that's great.
And I feel like I'm very happy with how I look now, but with the summer coming, I want to see if I can focus on, tailoring my physique a little bit more over the next 4-month period while it's motivating. And my main thing is giving you the context of like I feel like it's one piece of my fitness, but I see this summer having a lot of different pieces to it. And I guess the main question is like, how do I go about managing all of them and achieving all of them, and like how do I like spread my energy across them, because I do want to continue training in boxing. At the same time, the physique I'm kind of going for is something we've talked about, but more like lean kind of, I guess, beach body athletic physique, where I think in my current state I could do a little bit more muscle, a few more pounds of muscle, but also lean out as well, be like vascular, because I feel like I'm pretty lean right now in vascular. But I want to try to maintain that while also bulking a little bit, but also like visibly seeing my abs more, training abs more. So really achieving that like athletic kind of physique, like active kind of physique. This summer, like I foresee myself, obviously training in the gym. I can do any kind of diet that might be necessary to kind of achieve that physique, and training boxing, not like intensely like every day, but I see myself like 1 to 3 times a week, maybe like 2 times a week, just to kind of improve my skill, like hopefully come back in the fall like much better to compete. At the same time, being very active, like I see myself being out and about a lot, like on the road a lot, going to the beach a lot, trying new things like randomly, playing volleyball, like not super strict in terms of like other kind of physical activities. So kind of integrating that into more of a spontaneous lifestyle as well, where like if I want to play volleyball or spike ball one day, like that's kind of infrequent kind of cardio or activeness, but it's like I want to aim for like that kind of physique, slightly bigger, but also with like this active lifestyle where there's boxing and like just being outside integrated into that. And I guess the main question is like what kind of training best supports that in addition to everything else I'm doing, plus like what kind of diet I should be going for, how much I should be eating, and like what kind of things I should be thinking about to kind of achieve that kind of state.
No, it's good. I think you first got to kind of decide what is your biggest priority, whether it's boxing, like competing next year, or really trying to like gain a lot of muscle, because you can't really do both at the same time. I was trying to do both for a while, and you kind of just burn out. So one's got to kind of take a little bit of a like break. You got to kind of prioritize one or the other a little bit, but you can do both, but one's got to be on the back burner a little bit, And so from what it sounds like, that kind of is going to be boxing for you a little bit this summer, but you can still make great progress. And like I said, like I still think it's great to do cardio even if you're in like a calorie surplus phase. So I think that having like a 250 to 300 to 500 calorie surplus would be ideal for you this summer. And then also doing cardio like frequently. And you could do running, you could do walking, whatever it may be. I would like do a standardized amount, and then whatever you do on top of that, whether that's spike ball, volleyball, whatever, you don't really count that. You just count the amount that you're actually doing in terms of cardio, and that kind of supports like a spontaneous lifestyle, like you do whatever else. And for training, I would just say like look back at the section that we talked about when I was saying like the most important training principles for like a bulking phase. Those are super important things. Like track your weight. If you're not gaining weight, you need to up your calories, right? Because like your volleyball, spike ball, whatever else, maybe you're doing it a lot and your total daily energy expenditure is a little bit more than it usually would be. Like you probably want to add a little bit more calories in that case. And I would also say, just like try and eat mostly the same thing every day. It doesn't have to be exactly the same thing, but just have some staple meals that you have that okay, this has this amount of protein, like, and try and hit like a certain goal for just calories and protein, and don't just be like, okay, I'm going to eat whatever, because that's how you're going to spend time like just spinning your wheels and just not really getting anywhere, So if you do want to have a physique focus and try and gain a bit of muscle, lose a bit of fat. I would say you probably want to do a bulking phase for about 3-ish months. Don't like try and get too fat. I think if you get past about 15% body fat, you probably want to cut it back a little bit and not really get too far past that. Just because for aesthetics you don't look nearly as good. So, yeah, I think does that pretty much answer it? Or?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say like, I'd reiterate the point where if I think about, because I knew before you were talking about priorities and like how you choose like what the main goal is.
Yeah.
And I think consistently like fitness has always been like a supplemental thing for me. Like it's never been the main thing for me.
Yeah.
Obviously, being healthy is important, but I think when I look at the summer ahead, like my primary goal is like working on my startup and my entrepreneurship, and like I would sacrifice like anything else in other categories of life for
sure.
that.
Yeah.
And most of like my decisions about like where I'll be and like what I'll be doing with my time is around that. But at the same time, like fitness is very important to me, and it's kind of the umbrella, like the secondary umbrella where like I need to figure out. And I guess the next question, like within the fitness, like what is the priority there?
Yeah.
And I think in reflecting on that question, I'd agree with you that I'm focused more on my physique than boxing this summer. And when it comes to boxing as well, like again, it's not like I have some purpose to like win a fight that's driving me.
Yeah.
Although it'd be nice and great lore and fun, and I would love to have a fight and win a
Yeah.
fight. Like that'd be a great goal of mine. But again, it's like a third goal of mine, and I guess the goals with boxing this summer would be just keep doing it consistently and improve my skill.
Yeah.
To set myself up for next fall. But if I had to choose between the better physique and boxing, like I would lean more toward like doing the things you suggested in terms of training and diet wise, and then also doing boxing in addition to that, just to keep it kind of going.
Definitely.
And fit into my like routine. But yeah, definitely like my work would be the most the priority of the summer, and I'm trying to figure out like where the fitness and lifestyle activity stuff fits into that picture.
Yeah,
as well.
it just has to fit around that, and like you gotta prioritize the work stuff first, and like if you can't, get all your calories in one day, or like it's not the biggest deal, but just try your best to make it like pretty consistent. That's because consistency is what gonna really make you like progress in the end. So, like if you eat great for a week and then you don't track for a week, like you're not gonna make very much progress. So,
Cool, man.
Yep.
Yeah. I want to talk to you more about like tips with diet and like cooking, because my diet right now is pretty spontaneous, I'd say, as well, just because the food in the dining hall is different every day. I'd say I'm pretty consistent on meal timing and like the overall kind of what I'm eating, but obviously I eat something different every day with dining hall. And this summer I definitely wanted to make it a focus of cooking my own meals and making them well. And
wait, you're going home over the summer, right?
Yeah, so I'm going to the UP for like 3-4 nights after exams are over. Then I'll be in Jersey for a month.
Okay.
And then I'll be in California for 2 more months.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So that's the current plan. But while I'm at home and while I'm in Cali, like I'll be living on my own, so I'll be like trying to cook as much as I can on my own.
Yeah.
And I think when I talk about learning to cook, there's like 2 things I want to do. Like number one, obviously find a routine of like, cooking where it's like consistent, easy to do, repeatable, boring, but consistent. Like either doing the same thing every day or like rotating between like 2 or 3 kinds of days where I'm just kind of making a similar kind of item.
Yeah.
But as well, like once or twice a week, I want to experiment with like just teaching myself how to cook like longer taking meals, but like just doing it well, just because that's a skill I want to learn in general.
Yeah, for sure.
But I want to talk to you more about advice you have for like learning to cook for the first time, like what I should try to be going for, like what I can experiment with, what have been the easiest for you to kind of learn and cook on your own.
Yeah.
And like I think I won't have time to cook every meal. Maybe like I might like integrate like 3 to 5 like Chipotle bowls a week or something for dinner or something. But I'm thinking about like with the frequency of food I should be eating, with what we talked about before, and like what kind of foods I should be trying to teach myself. Because and in the past, like I'm not really putting the time to teach myself, which is why like every time I cook at home, like it tastes like shit.
Yeah.
I just don't put much effort into improving it. But I'm sure with like 10% more effort, I can become like 90% better at cooking.
For sure.
So if I just put that little effort in, with your advice, I'm curious like how I should approach that. Let me get my charger for my computer real quick.
Okay, yeah,
we can
you're good.
talk about that.
I like actually talking it through, because like this isn't stuff that I talk about all the time, like because when I talk to people, I don't go this deep into it usually, because nobody wants to hear all the nonsense behind it,
I do.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so with cooking, I would say that if you're gonna be really busy with like startup stuff and you don't have a ton of time, you probably want to meal prep. And there are ways to meal prep to make it actually taste really good. So I do rice, broccoli, chicken, and sweet potatoes that I meal prep, and they're all fantastic. Like, I absolutely love all the foods that I have. And I think it really comes down to doing a little bit of experimenting for what you like. Like, if you like that sort of food and you can make it taste good, then you definitely want to do that. But the experimental process might take you a little bit of time. So, like, when I first started doing rice and chicken, it would taste terrible. And then I'd just like be like, okay, maybe I overcooked it a little bit last time, or like maybe I could have added a little bit more seasoning. You kind of just like decide based on that, based on what you like. Like, what I like isn't going to be the same as what you like, right? So, but I think those foods are great, especially for just like general health and having like a consistent food, like lunch that you can eat. Like, if you have chicken, broccoli, and rice, like, that's a fantastic meal. You know, it's healthy. It's a good amount of protein, carbs, right? So, and whatever else you're interested in too, like if you were interested in doing steak, burgers, stuff like that, just like really try and put in a little bit more effort to try and see first what you like and then how you like it. And how you like it is going to come from taking time to experiment, like I said. You know, like, say, and you really want to just try and make it as perfect as possible. Like, whenever I make a steak, I'm like, okay, I like it medium rare. If I make it medium and it tastes a little bit too well done, I'm like, okay, next time I did 6 minutes this time, I'll do 5 minutes and 30 seconds next time, right? It's just stuff like that. And meal prep for you, I think, will be super beneficial just because it saves you a lot of time. You cook one day, and then that gives you like 3 days worth of food if you're doing a decent amount of food, right?
How long does it typically take you when you cook?
When I cook, probably about an hour, maybe a little bit more to do all of it. But like, that's not bad when you consider the amount of time I would have to be spending to cook every meal, right? Like, if I spent, if I didn't meal prep, I would have to cook each of those meals, and they would probably take me 45 minutes at least, which is like, what, 2 hours, 15 minutes. So it's over double the amount of time if you don't meal prep it. So I think that's great. And just having food ready to eat and not having to cook it is just like great, you know? That's why I think that a lot of people fall for like fast food and things like that, which isn't always bad. Like, if you get chip every once in a while, like, it's not that bad. I eat chip literally twice a day on my bulk, like a year and a half ago. So like, it's not that bad, you know, if you have that. But in combination with some other foods that you meal prep, and I also wouldn't recommend that you always meal prep everything. Like, I meal prep 2 meals, and then I have like 2 meals that I don't meal prep that I cook every day. Just because I personally like eating ground beef when it's freshly cooked, you know? Like, it just tastes better to me. I don't like...
I'm sure it doesn't take too long either.
Yeah, it takes 10-15 minutes to do that. And versus chicken and broccoli and rice, like, that takes a lot longer to make all of that than just like a simple like burger patty, you know? So I think that combining meal prep and cooking and maybe eating out, fast food, may be a good way to do it. And it's good balance, keep you consistent with it, so it doesn't feel like you're always cooking or always going out and eating like shit, you know? So that combination would be pretty good.
That's really cool, man. Yeah, I'll definitely go about that. So with chicken, like, how do you, this maybe that's too specific, but how do you make your chicken? Like, do you like the eyes of it?
Yeah, so I do chicken breast. I do probably 2 or 3 big chicken breasts every 3 days that I do. It might even be a little bit more now, but I do olive oil in a pan. I cut it up into nice and small pieces, maybe about 1 inch by 1 inch, like almost cubes or slices like that. And then I put olive oil in the non-stick pan, and then I put in the chicken, coat one side in chicken seasoning. I have this really cool kind that I'll have to put you on that I like. There's a ton of stuff that you can do though, even just like salt and pepper and garlic powder.
Just a liquid really chicken seasoning, or sorry, you just like a powder chicken seasoning?
Yeah, it's just powder. Yeah, and garlic powder is really good too with like salt and pepper. That's a really easy one that tastes great. And then you definitely don't want to overcook it, but you also don't want to undercook it because chicken's pretty dangerous if you undercook it, right? So, yeah, just like kind of experimenting with how long you want to put it on for. and the size that you like. Like I like it in about 1 inch by 1 inch, like I said. If you like it a little bit bigger, a little bit longer, whatever it may be, right? Like you can kind of experiment for that. But yeah, with seasoning, same thing. Like it just depends on what you like. I have things that I like. What you like is probably a little bit different, but just like cooking it, like not too much, not too little. It's like the Goldilocks zone. Like you kind of want to find out how much you want to cook it for. And each like stove and each pan is different, like with how long. It's so complicated, but like once you learn your setup and your stove and your pan and you get it right, like it's pretty nice. You know?
I'm excited, bro. Well, I'm gonna hustle this summer.
Yeah.
And when we live in the apartment next year, I'll show you my skills.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to see it. Yeah. And I'll put you on like all my favorite seasoning and way of doing things too.
Perfect.
Yeah. No, it'll be good.
Yeah, dude. So you're 7 weeks out. How would you talk about your mental state right now? I mean, finals are just finishing up, so it's probably a little bit more relaxed, I guess, from a week ago maybe. But what's going through your mind these days as the year's coming to a close and we're 7 weeks out from the big day?
I'm so relieved right now just to be done with school. Like it feels like a huge weight lifted off my shoulders, and now I just get to focus purely on what I'm passionate about for the next 2 months. So it'll be fantastic. But my mindset going into it, like I said a little bit earlier, like I'm just focused on being the best version of myself on that day. And, if I do become the best version on that day, like I'll be happy, even if I don't get first place and I don't get my pro card right. Like what I will be disappointed in is if I don't show up my best. I'd probably be more disappointed if I won my pro card and I didn't show up my best than if I didn't win and I showed up my best, right? Like I think that what's going to be most important for me is just making sure I really show up at a peak physical condition, the best I've ever looked, the leanest, the fullest. And I think that I'm just so determined to do it right now. Like it's super exciting. I don't know anyone personally who's done anything like this, so I'm very excited to do that. Not even if any of my friends have really done it. I think Carter, the one guy, he's done it, but besides that, not really many people I know.
You two are the only people I know. You two are the only people I know.
Yeah.
A lot of powerlifters, but not a lot of bodybuilders.
Yeah, no, I do know a lot of powerlifters who've competed, but it's a lot of pressure, like being on stage, like having to pose, having to like hold a smile for like 10 minutes straight. Like that's not going to be nice, it's going to be hard, but posing is pretty tough. Like it may look easy, but posing and cardio are probably some of the two hardest things. Like obviously being in a calorie deficit is very hard, but the amount of posing practice and cardio you have to do is just insane. And I'm so excited that I have more time to commit to that and just really focus on dialing in my craft and making sure my posing routine is as good as possible. Because I'm doing 2 shows, so I need to have 2 different sets of posing. Like
how far apart are they?
1 week.
Great.
Yep. So I got to maintain like elite conditioning for a week, which is going to be really hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And classic posing is a lot harder than men's physique posing, so it's going to be pretty tough. But yeah, I'm super motivated to go into this. Like I'm really happy that I'm doing it. It's probably the best decision I've ever made. I'm not gonna lie.
I think so. I can see it in you. Like the level of purpose and like excitement I see you now is like, it's so different than like the energy you brought like last year.
Yeah,
I can tell like you're in a very great state.
Yeah, like I love it. It's what I love doing. Like even when I was boxing, I didn't feel nearly as much like passion and fulfillment from it. Like I loved boxing, and it was great. And I think those skills will also kind of transfer over a little bit, because I've already had a fight in front of like a bunch of people, and that's way harder than this, right? So like this won't be as bad.
Is that light still on? I heard a noise.
The light?
This one on your camera?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know.
Yeah, but with boxing, I feel like that's harder than getting on a freaking men's physique stage and posing, Like you're getting punched in the face in front of a crowd of people who are booing you. Like that sucks, That was pretty tough.
Mentally?
Yeah, mentally especially. I remember getting out of the ring and my head hurt so bad. I was like, damn, that sucks. And I had a Coke right after. That was the best thing I've ever tasted. My dad got me a Coke right after, and it was so freaking good, dude. My God.
I think I've ever had a Coke.
Yeah. So that was
That's funny, bro.
But yeah, I think with this show, I think that it's just going to give me a benchmark for what I need to improve on and what I want to go focus on in the off season, right? So I'm definitely going to compete again. That's my plan as of now. That may change, you never know, but I think that I can't see myself not competing again. You know,
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I think we talked on like episode 119 or something, beginning of this year, where you were saying that like, you know, to be the best personal trainer, like, okay, I've done boxing, I've stepped in the ring, I'm gonna compete in bodybuilding.
Yeah.
You know, I'll do powerlifting maybe at some point, compete, and I think you came with this perspective of like getting this experience in other realms, and I guess I'll be curious to see like after this show, like does your perspective shift to like, okay, I want to go all in this and just keep doing this and keep getting better and better, or do you want to continue to like dip your toes in all these different areas? And I mean, right now it seems like you're super aligned with the bodybuilding path now.
Yeah,
like
because I'm just good at it too, you know?
Yeah.
Like I never was naturally too good at boxing. Like I was okay, and I found it like fun and enjoyable or whatever. But like there are people who pick up some boxing gloves and are just fantastic right off the go, and that was never me. Like it took me a little bit more work to get kind of decent at it. With bodybuilding, like I've always loved it. I'm pretty sure I always will love it, and like I'm naturally pretty gifted for it, you know, like with structure, insertions, stuff like that. So it's a good thing to go into. I could definitely see myself pursuing powerlifting too. I might do that in my off season, honestly, train for powerlifting while I'm training for bodybuilding, like, because there are some overlap. Like if you're training for bench and squat, like those are both things that can align for bodybuilding, you know. So my goals are 315 bench and then 495 squat is what I want to get. And then deadlift, like I've always been pretty good at deadlift because I have long arms and short legs, so I'm naturally pretty advantaged for that. But it's not going to be something that I focus on as much, just because like you're not going to be building as much muscle with deadlifts, just because it's so strenuous on your body and like your nervous system, your CNS, stuff like that. But yeah, I'm definitely thinking about getting into powerlifting after this show. That's the plan.
It'll be fun.
All right, I'm gonna go to the bathroom one second.
Go for it. What was the topic of discussion?
I forgot.
I think you were talking about powerlifting. And
Oh, yeah.
And like your show and beyond.
Yeah, so I think I definitely want to give that a go. I don't know if I'm going to do like a meet or anything yet. I think I might wait a little bit longer for that, because like if I want to do something like that, I probably want to give it like a good go. You know, I don't want to kind of half-ass it. But I think that'll help me a lot for just gaining strength and getting bigger, because my goal is to be like 180 pretty lean, which is going to be hard to do. But I'd like to do like a slow surplus and then get to 180, hopefully not too fat, and just be super
180?
strong. Yeah.
What's the heaviest you've ever been?
168.
Okay.
Yeah, I was pretty chunky then too, I can't
Yeah.
lie. But yeah, I think that'll be good, just to help me put on more size and just be stronger in general.
Yeah,
That's going to be the goal of the next off season. So I wrote out an entire plan of like my next off season. So
tell me about it.
Yeah. Let me actually look in my notes real quick, because I wrote down a ton of stuff. Let's see.
I want to write something down real quick too.
Yeah.
You said a quote I really liked that I want to write down about gifts.
Yeah.
That we're all born.
Okay, yeah. So what the plan is take 2 to 3 years off from bodybuilding shows. So just try and gain as much size as I can. And literally for 2 to 3 years, I'm going to be in like a slight surplus is the plan. So
2 to 3 years.
Yeah. And I don't want to get above like 15% body fat. If I get above that or close to it, I'll probably do like a mini cut. So just want to stay around there. 12 to 15 is probably pretty good for most people for the off season. And then yeah, I think I definitely want to do 315 bench, 495 squat. Those would be great, because I've already hit 405 squat and I did 265 for bench, which isn't very good, but I think that'll be a good goal, just to give myself like a number in my mind, just to have something to work to, you know, because if you're just purely bodybuilding training, it's like, okay, you don't really have like a metric to work to as much as if you're chasing a certain number. So I think doing both of those at the same time will be nice.
Yeah, it'll be fun too.
Yeah, for sure. And then another thing is going to be hitting muscles that are kind of like a little bit undervalued by normal people. So like forearms, adductors, which are the muscles on the inside of your legs, and then your erectors, like your spinal erectors, the things that helps your back go from like here to here. They make a huge difference in your physique at the top level. And for most people, it's not worth hitting because it just takes extra time. But for me, like I think that I need to have as many grounds covered as possible. So I'm gonna try and bring up those points, and they're not like weak points, but they're just gonna make me look even better and more complete, you know. So I think that that's the goal. And then we could talk about this a little bit. I think that a lot of people hop on steroids a little bit too soon. Like even for me as a competitor, I don't think that I would consider it, at least for the foreseeable future, just because of all the downsides. And I used to kind of toy with the idea a little bit more in my mind, purely because like I didn't understand it nearly as much as I do now. And I just think that I've become more polarized in the opposite direction, and I think that as a natural, you can make so much progress, and people don't actually understand how much progress you can make as a natural. So like, I think that staying natural is definitely a good idea, and it's not like I'm not trying to like preach and just be like, oh yeah, just be healthy, bro. Like that's not what I'm trying to do. And I think that people don't take into account all the risks that they're taking on when they do that, and they just do it because it's fun. Because it's literally recreational drug use, right? Like that's quite literally what it is. So you're no really better off doing like, I don't know, like other stuff, you know, like other recreational drugs. The only thing you get from steroids is like, yeah, you get bigger muscles, but I don't even always think that makes you look better. Like you look better to dudes, sure, but like if you're trying to look better in terms of just general health and trying to appeal to women, which a lot of people are, especially when they get into lifting, like the hopping on steroids is not going to make you look like more appealing, you know. It makes you have terrible acne, hair loss, it makes you look older. All these things are not going to make you look better, you know. So I just think that it's a terrible decision for a lot of people, and like just being a peak natural is going to make you look better than if you're like a peak guy on steroids for most people. Like yeah, you might have a few more dudes coming up to you being like, bro, you look sick, you know what I mean. But I think that from a health standpoint, and then from like an aesthetics and like a general like, okay, everybody in the population would want to look like me standpoint, like being natural is probably better, you know. Because if you polled people and said, okay, how many people out here want to look like prime Chris Bumstead versus like how many dudes want to look like a Calvin Klein model, right? Like a lot of guys are probably gonna choose well, I actually don't know what a lot of guys would choose, but like it might be 50-50, but like my point is a lot of girls are probably going to prefer if you look like a Calvin Klein model instead of like a roid freak, you know what I mean? So like I'd personally want to look more like C-Bone, I'm not gonna lie, but like yeah, I don't know, a lot of people might think you look a little bit better if you're not such a like roided out freak looking dude, you know. So like I think that that's something to consider too when considering that. Like that's the reason why I don't do it, I'm just going to be completely honest, is mainly for like vanity. Like I don't want to lose my hair, I don't want to get a ton of acne. If those two things weren't like pretty much guaranteed, I'd probably do it already, you know.
Really?
Yeah.
Even the other downsides is like,
yeah, for sure. Like I think that if I did like a low dose of something, that's probably all I'd ever really do, is just like a low dose of testosterone or something like that. And I just sustain that and do HRT when I'm older. But the reason I don't do that is for like mainly vanity reasons. And like yeah, it's not healthy, but I've never touched alcohol in my life, never touched a recreational drug in my life. I eat super healthy whole foods, so if I were to take on a little bit of risk in that way, I feel like my other habits would kind of offset that a little bit.
Is that how it works? Or?
Not completely. It's not completely how it works, but it's better than if I ate like shit, drank a ton of alcohol, and did steroids too, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you're doing a little bit in intentional amounts, like,
yeah,
it's not the worst you can do to your body.
It's all about like how much risk you're actually taking on, you know. Like if you're drinking alcohol and eating a ton of like garbage food, there's some risk associated with that, right? And there's also some risk associated with taking steroids, because like some people do it, they barely have any side effects, have great blood work, don't lose their hair. So you never know, that could be you. But like there's risks, and if you stack a ton of risks on top of each other, you got like a huge risk for a lot of health implications and like bad things that could happen, right? So I think that if you take care of yourself pretty well and you don't do those other things, the risk of taking steroids could be like here, versus if you did a bunch of bad things, it'd be like right here.
I agree.
You know,
it's a good point. Talk to me about your perspective on other kind of steroid. I mean, I'd say steroid adjacent kind of things like peptides. They're different level, obviously, but
Yeah.
your kind of perspective on the attitude toward people who take them. Your suggestions on like the health side of things with those.
Yeah, I think that with peptides, it's just like such a popular thing right now, and the youth especially is so conditioned into like wanting to do that. Like there are so many peptide companies that advertise and spend so much money on advertising to like push their agendas to like teenagers, like people our age, stuff like that. So it's kind of a gray area for me. I'm not gonna lie, because there is benefit for sure. Like I know people personally who have taken them and gotten fantastic results, whether it's losing weight, tanning, getting better sleep, whatever it may be. Like they work 100%. But for me, the reason why I'm not doing it right now, and I've considered it, like I've literally had various peptides in my shopping cart, like online, and been about to buy them. So like I'm not sitting here being like, oh, you should never do them. Like there are certainly uses for them. And I was talking to Charlie Faith this morning about two of them in specific, mainly helping with healing because he's been dealing with injuries, and there's been a lot of talk of various peptides helping with like healing injuries. So he was interested in that. So I think that if you come back from like a bad injury or like a surgery, you're trying to recover, I think that there can be utility in using stuff like that because it can help you get back into doing what you love faster. And also weight loss. The weight loss one is kind of an interesting one to me because I do think if you're very overweight and you go from very overweight to a normal weight, that's like great for you, you know. But the question is when you come off those drugs, because you have to come off at some point. I mean, you could stay on them forever, but like that's not necessarily the greatest thing for your health. But you got to come off them at some point, right? And what are you gonna do? You haven't learned any of the skills on how to diet, so you're just gonna pick up the exact same habits that you had before. And I was talking to my exercise physiology professor about this, and he's like, yeah, like 80% of people who go on weight loss drugs or peptides or something like that, like they gain it all back, right? So like that's significant. 4 out of 5 people who go on those drugs gain all the weight back.
It's because their lifestyle and habits don't reflect.
Yeah, it's because they don't change their lifestyle. Like it induces, it literally induces like nausea, right? Like that's what it does. It makes you not want to eat like some of them. So like when you're not nauseous thinking about food, you're gonna be like, damn, like I really want a pizza right now, you know, instead of damn, I feel sick. Because that's how a lot of people feel when they take this stuff. It just induces nausea and you don't feel like eating, right? So because it's there are 3 various ones out there for weight loss: semaglutide, tirzepatide, and retatrutide. The first 2 are both FDA approved and can be prescribed by doctors.
Which one is Ozempic?
Ozempic, I think it's semaglutide.
Okay.
Yeah, and then what's the other one? I forgot. There's some other brand name one that is tirzepatide, which is 2 of them. So the difference is there's GLP, GIP, and glucagon receptor agonists. That's what all the 3 of them are. The GLP is glucagon-like peptide. That's what GLP means. And basically what these do is make it so your hunger increases, right? And they do it in various like ways. I'm not going to go specifically into how they do it, but that's essentially what they do. And so if you decide to do like something like Reta, which is the triple agonist, that's way more extreme than if you just did like Ozempic or semaglutide or something like that. And it's not FDA approved, and like the dispensing of these things isn't as regulated yet with Reta, whereas it is in the other 2. So I think that of course there's utility to these things, and like if you are very overweight, it would definitely help you. But you also gotta like consider that you should probably change your habits at the same time too, or you're just gonna put all the weight back on, right? So I think that if you combine it with trying to really improve your habits and work on it, like then sure, like that's fine. But for an average dude who's just like trying to get in better shape, I really don't think that a lot of people need it. I think that a better way to do it would be just using your discipline to do it. But if you for some reason don't want to use discipline to do it, because like you got to use discipline to go to the gym, like some people hate going to the gym. I love going to the gym. Like I hate studying. Like it takes a lot of discipline for me to study, you know. Some people that's not the case, but like if it takes a lot of discipline for you to eat, I think there is some utility in that, especially if you just really despise like dieting and it's super hard for you. For me, it's not really that much of a challenge, and that's not like a flex. It's just like some people are born with a baseline level of hunger that's higher than other people's, right? So, and I'm not going to judge people for that sort of decision. And of course, everybody knows that like looks matter and how fat you are matters. Like if you are overweight, a lot of people perceive that as lack of discipline. Whether that's true or not, it's debatable. But I think that for a lot of peptides, there is use, but it is at the end of the day just still a shortcut for a lot of people. Like a lot of people just use it just to like kind of get where they're trying to be a little bit faster. And same thing with steroids. Like if, say for example, someone's like a young kid and they decide to take them just because they don't want to work out for a longer period of time, like it's just a shortcut. And what's going to happen when you don't have the steroids in the future and like you hit your ceiling faster? Like you're so focused on the destination that you're not working on the journey as much. And I think that the journey is where all the value actually lies, because people think, oh, I want to be this big and this lean, but like you don't understand what it takes to get to that point. And so you're not going to appreciate it nearly as much when you have it, right? And so you're not going to value it nearly as much as someone who actually worked for it, I think. So I don't know. I think that peptides is kind of a gray area for me. I think there is certainly utility in it, and there is value for a lot of people, but for the most part, like people who are using it, like 16-year-olds who see their favorite influencer like using it on TikTok, like I just think that's just like short-minded and kind of like, I don't know, just too what's the word? Like they're a little bit like too really trying to think of the word.
What's the?
What is the word? Huh?
I know what you're trying to say. I think.
Yeah, like they're a little bit like too reckless with it. Maybe reckless is whatever. It's fine. But yeah, people who do it just as a shortcut, I feel like it's just not a good thing to do. But
it's sad, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad that so many people without much information make decisions too early.
Yeah.
I mean, peptide is one level. I mean, steroids is another level. I mean, taking that.
Yeah.
And like
the thing
16, 17, 18 years
The
old.
thing about steroids is they've been studied a lot longer than peptides have too. So we kind of know more about the effects of those versus peptides. Like we still know a good bit about peptides based on the research. Like we know that, okay, subcutaneous injections of these things isn't going to kill you. Like, but we also don't know like long-term effects as much, and it's probably fine. Like all things considered, it's probably going to be fine. It's probably not going to be that bad for you long term. But like my whole thing is like you're teaching yourself to take shortcuts. You're teaching yourself to try and get to the destination and not enjoy the journey. And that's personally why I don't do that stuff, So, and I know that I said I've considered like doing various things in the past, but like I also think that there is a lot of joy that comes from being natural and like having a slow grind, and I take a lot of pride in doing it too. So.
I did want to talk to you about that as well, because I think we've had so many of these conversations over the years where, I could tell your mental state, like you're pretty clear on like, you usually lean back into this current state where you're like, avoiding these things is probably better for various reasons, but the temptations are there, and we'll have these conversations where you're so tempted to, I don't know, steroids or peptides or anything. You feel these temptations, and then we have these conversations with, you talk to your mom not letting you do this, and your temptation for this. Then you shift back, and I'm kind of curious if you could talk me through like those moments where you really want or consider it, and like what kind of goes through your head. How could you describe like what those temptations feel like, why you think you feel that way, like how you pivot back, what like stops you from that moment when you're about to buy it before you think back to decide whether you should or shouldn't?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think that a lot of it comes from my mom, because she's even more knowledgeable on a lot of this stuff than I am, and so I kind of do a little research myself, and then I talk to her about it, and she would see what she has to say. And I respect my mom a lot, and I listen to her because she's very educated, so I think that just listening to my mom has never really done me too wrong, So I think that, and even with like drinking alcohol, like that, we've talked about that, like that's the main reason why I don't really have temptation to do it, because my mom's like, yeah, here are all the downsides, here's why you shouldn't do it, and I respect my mom, and I think for myself too, like I'm not just going to blindly follow whatever she says. Like there are various things where I've disagreed with her on, and I decided to do something when she told me not to do it. So I think that when it comes to that stuff, though, I'm just going to like outsource my knowledge to her in a way, because I just think that she knows a lot more, and she's very conservative with it. Like sometimes when we want something really bad and we're super emotional, like our judgment is kind of clouded and we tend to be a little bit more like less risk averse, so we make worse decisions just because we're more emotional. And like the emotion can come from, okay, I don't feel big enough, I don't feel strong enough, whatever it may be. But I think that my relationship with my mom has helped me a lot stay clear of that stuff. And I think that that's why parents are super important for a kid, just to be super like close with your kids, because you stop them from doing bad things. And if they respect you, and if you live by example and lead by example, like they're going to respect you. And that's, I think, why I've become the person that I am, is mainly because of my mom and the respect that I have for her. So.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think that, I mean, we've talked about this on the podcast so many times, but the importance of like having strong parental figures, like how we go about parenting. We've debated about this in the past too, and our perspectives have both, I think, evolved a lot too, and like how we approach this. And I mean, the more and more I learn about psychology and just my own experience in the world is just so important.
Yeah.
Like I've even seen other people the effects of not having those strong parental figures can do to your mental state, your attachment style, the way you interact with the world and people. And it's really alarming, like, because I used to just be the guy that read about these things and like, oh, that's a cool psychology thing. But I think in recent years I've seen it with my own eyes, and it's sometimes pretty crazy, like how accurate a lot of those like developmental psych things I read about were in terms of like, you know, how your youth affects you. And I'm kind of touching different territory here, but in terms of like parenting, I agree with you. Like, I think both as a parent, it's so important to like have that dynamic with your kids where they respect you, look up to you, but are close to you. And I think it's hard to achieve that, but I think there's a little bit of thought and effort.
Oh yeah,
it's anyone can do it.
It's hard, but like you definitely have to put in effort, and it's achievable. Like with my mom, I tell her pretty much everything. Like I don't hide anything from her. I don't feel ashamed of anything I've done. Like even the worst things that I've done, I still tell her. And like I did terrible on an exam yesterday, and the first thing I do is call my mom. I'm like, Mom, I didn't do well on this exam. She's like, okay, we're gonna, you know, make some changes. Like, you gotta do this, and this. And she's just very supportive. And I think that having such an open relationship with your parents, and, you know, when you're actually a parent and you have that relationship with your kids, like, it's just so valuable, because relationships are really all we have in this world. And like, I may become a great bodybuilder, I may become a great physical therapist, but at the end of the day, my legacy is if I become a great dad and a great brother, great husband, whatever it may be, right? Like that's where your actual legacy lies, and that's how you become remembered. Like your legacy as whatever you may be, like a bodybuilder, or, you know, it may last for a little bit, but like your legacy and the imprint you leave on your kids and the people around you is going to last much longer than that legacy of whatever you achieved, like in a material sense, right? So I think that's what I'm focusing on a lot nowadays, is just like really trying to be the best brother, son, friend, boyfriend that I can be, and just really trying to leave a positive impact on those people, you know.
And that's like the only thing that's important in life. Like, why do we do anything that we do, you know? That's for the people. And I think that as I've gotten older, I feel like I've taken my family for granted when I was younger. In terms of that, I think as I've gotten older and spent less time with them, I've realized how like nice it feels to have people that are it just feels so familiar and so warm around, where like it's nice to just like be on the phone with everyone, you know. It's like, you know, so much has changed over 19 years, 20 years now almost this summer. And, you know, families has always been consistent, you know. It's always, you know, always together, always the same bullshit. But it's like, it feels so nice to have something so warm and consistent that it's sad that a lot of people don't have those kind of close relationships with people that are like consistent over time. And, you know, it's something you don't realize the value of when you're younger, I think, but as you get older, you realize like how much it's really helped you as you've gotten older.
Like as a teenager, all I would think about is like, I need money, I need the best job, I need like a nice car. And like I still want those things, but I think that true success for me is going to look like not having a divorced family, because I come from a divorced family. So that's like my number one goal, is just having a really like great family environment where my my kids respect me, where my wife respects me, where I respect myself, all those things. And if I make a lot of money, great. If I don't, great. Like, I just want that to be consistent, you know, because I think that the happiest people have like a really good family. And if you look at like the richest people in the world who don't have a good family structure, like their fulfillment isn't that great. And even like top bodybuilders, like once they get to where they are, like they just don't feel fulfilled. And I think that for whatever you're pursuing, like I think that if you're pursuing it for monetary purposes, or you're trying to make the most amount of money possible, like I just think that that's kind of misguided in a way, and that's more of like a young man's mindset, I feel like, you know. And I still feel that a little bit, like the pressure to make a lot of money and
I feel it a lot.
That sort of thing, and because it's definitely important, like it absolutely matters. We learned in my psychology class this semester that money is literally correlated with happiness, and they showed us multiple studies on it.
I believe it.
Because I think it's totally true. But like it gets to a certain point where that's all that you focus on, and people in my personal life have focused a lot on money, and it's kind of damaged my relationship with them. And so yeah, I think that it's super unwise to pursue like only money and not like really try and have a proper family structure. And I think that just in the US in general, that's like a main thing that a lot of people focus on, is like, I need to be as successful as possible, and they kind of neglect family. Whereas in other countries, like European countries, like they focus a lot more on family, I feel like, and I think that that's pretty wise.
I think it's wise as well. And, you know, again, like success and money are not inherently bad, but I think you should step back and like ask yourself why you care about anything. And for me, a lot of it's like, I find fulfillment in sharing. Like, obviously I want to do work I find fulfilling, and, you know, entrepreneurship is so exciting for me. I love building, I love creating, I love impacting people, and of course I want to make millions of dollars if it works, you know, but the fulfillment is not in the millions of dollars, but it's the sharing of those millions of dollars with
what
people.
You can give other people. And we actually learned another thing about that is they did like a study on brains in people who were given gifts and then who were giving gifts, and the people who were giving gifts like showed that they were happier like in when they were giving gifts than versus receiving them. So like it's actually pretty interesting, because I feel the same way. Like I want to just provide for other people and like be a source of happiness for other people, you know.
Yeah, man, like all the money goes to like my family, and then my current family and my wife and my kids. And, you know, it is like, I do agree with that. It's like the giving is not only the money, but it's also like the giving of just like giving someone a smile as you walk by them, but just how much gift can you give to the world? Like I feel like that all purpose comes down to that, you know, like
absolutely.
It's like, can you make one person's life like 1% better by like saying hi to them? Like I know it's a small thing, but like that's something I try to do a lot, and you know, just I feel like everything I do is like in some way integrated into like mutual sharing or mutual gifting. And I think it has been very fulfilling to me. Like it makes me very happy internally, I'd say. Yeah, man.
Yeah. All right, bro. Well, I think that was great conversation. My mom's waiting for me.
Yeah, I feel bad.
Yeah, that's okay. She was supposed to get here at 5, so it's okay. But yeah, I'm glad we did this. Got to do it again next semester. I'm looking forward to that.
It's always fun to talk to you, Charlie. It always gets me excited for what's next.
Yeah, no, we always have great conversations, and it's just like we think about the past, we look forward to the future, and then like we really enjoy the present. I think that like we always have really good conversations.
And we've always done them at like really nice bookmarks where it's always at the beginning of the fall, beginning of winter, end of winter.
And a lot changes too. Like it's gonna be interesting when I look back on these like in the future, when I'm say like 25 or something like that, just to see how I was thinking at 20 years old. You know,
it'll be crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely my podcast with you are my favorite. They're very special. And when I think back to like my life over the last 2 years, the bookmarks feel like our 5 podcasts.
Yeah.
Like they feel like it feels like a table of contents with like these 3 months and then these 3 months.
Yeah, I agree.
If we do it 3 times a year, it's like every 4 months we do another one.
Yeah.
And a lot changes, and you know, we'll see what's in store for next time.
Yep.
When you're back in the fall. So take care and have a good summer, man. All right.
Yeah, you too.